November 19th, 2017. The town of Thika is quiet, shops are closed, and the bank is dark. Beneath a modest bookshop, 4 men are underground. Engineers by training, sons of farmers from Nyeri, and straight-A students who believed education was the key, until the key opened nothing. For 6 months, these 4 men have been digging 10 inches at a time. Silent, methodical, precise. No guns, no hostages, no alarms. Just a tunnel aimed directly at a KCB vault holding more than 52 million shillings. A resident hears something strange, metal grinding against concrete. It stops, then starts again. The neighbor calls Falcon Security. Guards arrive. Torches point upward, across the upper floors of the bank. They don't search. They don't investigate. They shine light, see nothing, and leave, unaware the drilling is happening directly beneath them. The vault is breached, and by morning, the robbers get away with both foreign and local currency. There is no CCTV, no suspects. The internet and the entire nation marvel at their audacity. But one single misstep is about to unravel everything. The most perfect crime, outsmarted by ego, trust, and noise. How did 4 men outsmart a bank system? And how does a flawless plan die above ground, not below it? Friday, May 19th, 2017, in Juja, Kenya. Halford Monini Murakaru sits alone in his 1-bedroom apartment. Jobless, restless, scrolling. On his screen, Brazil, the Fortaleza Bank Heist. 25 men had set up a fake landscaping business. They spent 5 months underground digging a tunnel that went straight into a vault. Within no time, $70 million were gone. The robbers fooled the police and embarrassed the nation. Halford did not see a crime, but an opportunity and possibility. No use of guns or bloodshed, just patience and planning. He stares longer, then reaches for his phone. First, he calls his younger brother, and later, 2 trusted friends. The idea is simple, dangerous, and awfully brilliant. What if they did this here and disappeared? To understand how that question was even possible, you have to go back to Karura village, Mathira, Nyeri County. Halford was born first. 2 years later, Charles followed. Different ages, but bound by the same discipline, the same ambition. Their parents, Titus Murakaru and Esther Nyaguthi, were humble farmers in Karura village, Mathira, Nyeri County. Like many Kenyan parents, they believed education was the only escape. Books became the center of the home, and from an early age, Halford set the pace. Charles kept up, relentlessly. The results were unmistakable. Both brothers excelled academically and earned places at Nyeri High School, the prestigious institution that once produced President Mwai Kibaki. University came next. At Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, the brothers studied agricultural engineering, focused, disciplined, convinced the system would reward hard work. It didn't. After graduation came silence. No job offers, no interviews, just rejection. The promise that education is the key collapsed quietly, without warning. To survive, the brothers turned to fraud, posing as car sellers. It kept money flowing and rent paid in Nairobi. But survival wasn't the dream. For men wired to excel, it wasn't enough. That was when the heist came into focus. The idea from the Fortaleza Bank Heist was refined, engineered, and localized. The next step involved widening the circle. This is where 2 more guys were introduced to the group. Julius, an electrical engineering graduate from the University of Nairobi, and Shem, a JKUAT student. All were young, hungry, and eager for the job. 4 minds came together around a single objective. What began as a late-night idea in a Juja apartment was quietly transforming into something far bigger, a plan that would be remembered as Kenya's most audacious bank robbery. Not because it was violent, but because it was smart. The plan began with observation. KCB Thika wasn't the biggest branch, but it had a weakness, one that could not be ignored. At the rear of the building, cameras never reached. No one monitored it closely. The bank's blind spot was perfect, almost inviting. In June 2017, the crew made their move. Using carefully forged IDs, they rented 3 stalls in the building, less than 30 meters from the bank. Their cover? A bookshop. The advance rent cost them 168,000 shillings as they paid 6 months' worth of rent up front. Time was now an ally. Time would let them dig a secret tunnel beneath the bank, unseen and untraced. The first weeks were all about preparation. They bought tools quietly, sourcing hose, welding cylinders, gas masks, planks of wood for maintaining the structure, and sacks. Every piece had a purpose. They assembled overalls, a spirit level for precision, and brought a battery with an inverter for lighting underground. Even the sacks for the soil were measured carefully alongside empty cartons. They could only move so much at a time without attracting attention. By day, the bookshop appeared legitimate. Shelves of books, printers, and stationery created the illusion of a small, bustling business. Behind the scenes, 2 stalls served as cover for the work below. Each night, one of them would slip through a hidden doorway to the back, and the hoe would bite into soil. The tunnel was narrow, just 10 inches across, but every inch counted. Soil was packed into sacks, masked faces bent under the dim glow of minimal light. Movements were slow, methodical, and precise. Silence was the law. One false sound could blow everything. At night, the caretaker became a minor obstacle to charm rather than a threat. They spun stories of late-night packaging, books printed during the day ready to ship. The caretaker nodded, unaware that the books were nothing more than sand. Shem would load the sacks into cartons, transporting the soil away under darkness, leaving the building as it had always been, quiet, normal, unsuspecting. Months passed. Rain came. Mud threatened to collapse the tunnel. They reinforced it with wooden planks, moving heavy beams through the narrow space. The inverter hummed faintly as they worked, and the smell of damp soil became familiar, almost comforting. They measured everything and rehearsed every movement. 21,000 shillings was set aside to secure a house in Juja, a temporary vault for the riches soon to arrive. Here, the bags of stolen cash would be stored safely, away from prying eyes. Then came the night of Sunday, November 19, 2017. That day, the stalls ran as normal. Customers browsed books, unaware of the extraordinary effort below. This was the D-Day. At night, the crew descended into the tunnel for the final stretch. Months of digging had brought them here. The strong room of KCB Thika lay just above them, thick walls of reinforced concrete separating patience from fortune. They were now inches from the vault and minutes to the largest heist in Kenya's history. Yet even in the precision, risk lingered. Above ground, a casual observer had noticed something and alerted the security team. The team arrived and made checks. The noise above the ground worried them a bit, but not for so long as it eventually died away. Now, after countless days of preparation, the tunnel had reached its goal. Could 4 men, armed only with their wits and patience, move unseen into a fortress designed to protect millions? Could months of work survive the final fragile hours before the first vault door yielded to them? At this point, the 4 men had successfully dug a tunnel from the stalls, under the pavement, and into the bank. To deal with the reinforced steel in the bank's strong room, gas tanks hissed. The oxyacetylene welding equipment was used to cut through layers of metal with surgical focus. Despite sparks flickering in the darkness, the four men remained focused on the task. Eventually, they breached the vault, and treasures beyond imagination were revealed. Hands moved quickly, stuffing duffel bags with precision. Nothing was wasted. Above ground, the world continued unaware. They stole the cash and disappeared into the darkness. By the time the sun rose over Thika, the crew had vanished from the scene. Instead of fleeing out of the country like typical thieves, these young men retreated methodically to a safe house in Marui Estate in Kasarani. Here, they decided to lay low as they waited for the country to wake up to their bold crime. They thought they'd pull off the perfect heist, confident they could remain undetected. By morning, news of the audacious theft would send shockwaves through Kenya. KCB Thika had been robbed, yet no alarms triggered, no witnesses caught more than a shadow, no violence, no chase, just four men, a tunnel, and a fortune vanished as if swallowed by the earth itself. And there they waited, in silence and anticipation. But soon, mistakes would catch up with them. A week had passed after the heist, and it seemed as if nothing could touch them. But even the best-laid plans can unravel through carelessness. Shem, once part of the synchronized crew, decided to drift off on his own, straying from the tight formation that had guided them through months of secretive labor. Just a week after the heist, the first cracks began to show. Despite pulling off an audacious robbery worth 52 million shillings, the crew chose to flaunt it openly. Parties, clubs, champagne in hand, they boasted and bragged in Thika, making it rain as if daring the world to notice. A neighbor in Murakaru estate had noticed their suspicious behavior and called the police. Also, one girlfriend posted the money and cryptic snapshots online, and the chatter traveled faster than the robbers could anticipate. Authorities arrived at the estate, and the illusion of invincibility crumbled instantly. The two brothers, alongside Julius, were arrested at their safe house and were taken in for questioning. In the house, SIM cards, stolen IDs, and other evidence were seized. These are the small things that became the skeleton key to their undoing. Under pressure, the three cracked, revealing the hiding places of their stolen fortune. From the house, police recovered 17,135,000 shillings in cash, alongside foreign currency, 1,311 US dollars, 340 British pounds, 5 Canadian dollars, 85 Australian dollars, 46,000 Tanzanian shillings, 40 South African rand, and 20,000 Ugandan shillings. The stolen treasure, once thought untouchable, was now firmly back in the hands of the law. The remaining loot, nearly 20 million shillings, was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, on hearing of the arrest, Shem attempted to escape the heat, which ended in failure. Hiding at an entertainment spot in Mtwapa with a girlfriend Aisha, he was apprehended a week later. Even careful planning could not save him from recklessness and bad timing. The arithmetic was brutal. 52 million shillings stolen, 32 million shillings recovered, 16 million shillings paid in bonds. That left 20 million shillings floating somewhere, still waiting to be found. If each had planned to pocket 5 million shillings, then part of the fortune remained hidden, a ghost of their ambition. From a court that handled the case, the recovered money amounted to just 11 million shillings, with no trace of what happened to the rest. The once masterful plan had been undone, not by police ingenuity, but by the arrogance of amateurs who had written their own downfall. Months of precision and years of ambition reduced to arrests in less than a week. What had begun as a near-perfect execution ended in betrayal, arrests, and the slow, inevitable reclamation of their stolen fortune by the law. This has been Dark Hour Docs. Thanks for watching.